It's a real thing, you know.
OG, big fish. We the ones that you wanna get with. Took a couple L's, rung a couple bells. Real ones, too legit for coin telling. Straight shooters, all troopers. Me and the guys ain't never been losers. See a nice little thing, we pursue her. See a nice little, yeah. I'm moving with a purpose.
Bigger than the service.
You can never, even if you rehearse this. We own it.
Grand Rising team.
Big difference. That's worth less, yes.
Grand Rising team. Shout out to everybody in the building. Oh, let me get right. Let me get right. Gotta make sure we good. Gotta make sure we good. Hair all over the spot. There we go. Shout out to all y'all in the building. We got a lot to discuss. We got the continued backlash from Mamdani. There's a lot of neocons losing their minds. And I have to be honest, a part of me finds it a bit funny. We got a lot to talk about. Shout out to Critical Thinking in the building. Good day, good day. So he represents the downfall, if anything. The downfall of what? The downfall of what? Because I'm hearing that a lot. Good morning, people from San Diego. Shout out to Phyllis in the building. Let me turn this off. What we got? We got red-blooded American. Does he represent your mom knowing you're gay? We're going to hold on to this one, man. We're going to hold on to this one, bro. Let's use this as an example. So Hadal Goes, you may not be familiar with the channel, but we keep it respectful over here. So, perfect example. I understand you may not have been here before. We keep it respectful and we have some good combos. So happy to have you stay and engage in the conversation. Just keep it respectful. How's things? Critical Thinking. Good morning, friends and family. Grand Rising to all. Make this day as prosperous as you can as each day. Learn something new every minute of the day. Share that knowledge. Like and subscribe. 10Q. Yeah, what's so funny is even when I just read that, you ever been on a live show or you watching somebody else on a live show and they read something and it's like, bro, I didn't read it. I'm just going through all of them. So as I'm reading it, I've laughed at people for doing that. And here I do the same thing. But it's all good. It's all good. How are things? Everything's, I guess we're going to find out. Apparently some people are losing their mind. And matter of fact, I didn't even remind y'all. Do me a favor. Like. You can hold off on the subscribing for now. Especially if you're not subscribed now, don't even worry about it. Just like the video, get as many different people in the building as possible. And then by the end of the show, you can determine if this is something that you want to subscribe to. Good morning, friends and family. Grand Rising to all. My fault. I'm double reading text. I'm double reading messages. You're not the boss of me. Yo, who wrote? Hold on. What made you say that, Critical Thinking? What made you say that? Yeah, we were just clowning about that earlier. Because on Nick's show, he was talking about Mark Levine. He was like, you're not the boss of me. Oh, man. Look at that big flat line. Don't you just hate when people are out spreading joy? They are the worst. Am I right? Oh, my God. That's funny. As we take another day to deal with the turmoil and politics of our lives, let this moment be the moment that we all take a lesson to learn something new. One love always. Yeah, let's learn something. Let's learn something new in this next hour or so that I'll spend with you all. Let's definitely learn something new. Mamdani represents low IQ humanity. You look too much like Cam Newton. All right, we're getting there, Hadal. I take that as a positive comment. You feel me? I take that as a positive comment. But yeah, definitely get that a lot. Shout out to everybody doing their thing and stuff like that. Chick the Naughty Ross. Bro, I told my wife you're not the kind of guy who uses extensions. Am I right? What? Extensions in my hair. Come on, baby. Extensions. People are using hair extensions. This is a spiritual thing. How can you use? Come on now. We not put. Oh, nah. That your hair carries too much. Well, let me not. To each their own. But for me, no, the hair carries too much magic, too much of everything for me to just be using somebody else's hair in my hair for what? To speed up the process? We're not about that microwave approach over here. All right? Let's take the slow approach. Use the oven. That's funny though. That's funny. He won because he put New York before Israel. That comment won. And this is what I don't think that a lot of people, but maybe people are realizing it, but people just aren't paying attention to it. Like, who is surprised? I'm not surprised that Mamdani won. I'm not. Are we surprised based on what's been going on, based on the things that have been said over the last couple of years, especially in calling out Israel, seeing the impact that Israel seems to have over a lot of our politicians? It's being exposed in ways that it wasn't exposed before. Seeing that a lot of Americans are not looking at Israel in the favorable way that we've grown up looking at it. Are we surprised that the pendulum would swing in the opposite direction? You know what, like we said yesterday, the pendulum's going to keep swinging. Matter of fact, when you look at perhaps the history of our globe, it seems like it's just a bunch of pendulum swings where the moderate, common sense people in the middle are not able to keep it balanced because the pulls from the radical aspects of both sides of the party. See, the radicals, those are like your players on your team that are pushing you, pushing. They may go to extreme levels, but they're pushing, while the people in the middle, they're kind of like, ah. So the radical ones, those are the ones that are leading the charge a lot of times. So what ends up happening? You have a country that is looking like it's overwhelmingly influenced by Israel, Israeli politics, Jewish American donors. And then what ends up happening? You have a stage full of mayoral candidates being asked what country they're going to visit first, being asked if Israel has the right to exist. Clearly, it's shown that things have gotten out of control in Israel having any involvement in our politics. And I'm not blaming Israel for that. If anything, I'm blaming America. But just think about it. Why in a mayoral candidate? Why in a mayoral candidate race for New York City? We're running for mayor of New York City, and you're asking the candidate, because you're offended by his answer as far as not going to visit Israel, you're asking him, well, do you think Israel has the right to exist? If it wasn't at any other point, we should have known, there's going to be an opposite swing. A guy like Mamdani, who was the only person courageous enough to say, like, hey, I'm actually going to focus on America. He took a page out of Donald Trump's book, what Donald Trump was supposed to do, and push this MAGA America First agenda. That's all Mamdani's doing. And we're going to look at a couple different clips from conversations. I think we have Patrick Bet-David. I think we have Nick Fuentes in his show last night. He had some feedback on Mamdani winning. And a lot of it is just a response. It's a response to people being pissed off, to people not being, and not only is it a response, it's showing that people are not going to feed into the fear mongering. People running around saying, oh, Mamdani, he's an Islamist. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. Oh, my God, he's going to put Jewish people in a terrible position. People are going to leave the city. People are moving out of the city. Meanwhile, clearly, New Yorkers are sitting here, okay. And then what could potentially be scary about this situation is it seems like New York is being seen as a microcosm. So this is what happens, right? We'll have the fear mongering of Mamdani winning. We already know what's happening in Dearborn, Michigan, and in places where it's either, a huge Muslim crowd or a huge Somali crowd, residents, and people are scared. People are seeing how that, well, hold on, you guys are playing Muslim over the loudspeaker, like prayer music when it's time to pray. People are seeing the country being taken over, so people are scared. So now Mamdani winning, it's scaring a whole lot of other people. It's representing, when people say that America, white people in America are going to be the minority, it's trying to make them scared. It's trying to make Jewish people scared. It's trying to make Christians scared. This is what's happening. It's all a response. So I'm kind of just sitting back and observing. Like I said yesterday, I didn't really know much about Mamdani, didn't really pay much attention to the mayoral race, but perhaps Democrats and Republicans in New York, both, perhaps this is what you get because you had Mayor Adams. And the only thing Mayor Adams we complained about when it came to Mayor Adams was he just liked to go out and club and act as if he was a, club promoter or Jamie St. Patrick Ghost from Power rather than the mayor at times. But that was in the evening. Nobody says the mayor can't have a life. But when you think about Mayor Eric Adams, he stood up for the city. He was willing to go against his own party. He seemed to be a person that cared a lot about policing, as a former police officer. It seems that he was the one that was willing to work with both sides. It seems that he was the balance. But what ended up happening? The balance is hated on both sides, right? Because he was balanced, the Democrats, they decided to, in my opinion, launch an investigation against him, which ended up leading to his demise. Like that was his political demise. When they launched that investigation against him, now it's like you're forcing me in a position. Okay, Democratic platforms won't host me. Now I got to go on Fox News. But I'm also not a Republican. So you end up in the middle. Perhaps that's something that New York should appreciate. Perhaps Mayor Adams is sitting up just, with his feet up, sitting there like, I told y'all so. So we had a more balanced candidate. And when I say we, I'm just talking about America in New York. New York had a more balanced candidate. Y'all booted him out. Republicans, maybe y'all should have wrapped a bigger armor, a stronger, hold around Mayor Eric Adams. I don't know. But Mayor Eric Adams, as he always, kept it consistent, he wanted to run as the Democrat. And then Mamdani, a 34-year-old who apparently has never had a job, never balanced the big budget, is now running perhaps the most important city in the world. I hate to laugh, but it's just another example of how this political spectrum goes. It's just another example. So perhaps people need to see what's going to happen with a guy like Mamdani in office. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Let's see. So Big Bro Steve wrote, the behind-the-scenes players are financing the destabilization of the U.S. to push the agenda forward. The behind-the-scenes players are financing the destabilization of the U.S. to push the agenda forward. I ask a lot of these questions. And I'm with you, Maya, as well. I just hope it doesn't create more chaos. But the only way that any of this is not going to create more chaos is if the silent majority speaks out more. We can't just rely on, and when I say we, I'm talking about the silent majority, the people that are not pledging their allegiance to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. The people that can just use, even if you are in the Democrat or Republican Party, the people that can be moderate, use common sense, not be radicalized. Until those people express more of a voice, until those people are putting their money or putting whatever effort, putting their votes behind candidates that are like that, then the radicals are always going to win. The radicals are always going to be the ones that can raise the funding, needed to run the campaign. They're always going to be the ones that win, whether it's one way or another. Trump wasn't a radical response. If we took a step back and looked at New York just based on how Trump won in America, it's the same thing. Zohran Mamdani saw a sliver or a huge opportunity by simply saying, we're living in a time where people are starting to get real pissed off at what Israel's doing. People are starting to get real pissed off with Israel's influence on our government. People are getting pissed off with AIPAC and seeing a lot of the advantages that it seems that Israel has. People are not supporting the things that Israel's doing. For whatever reason, Donald Trump, who's running on certain things like releasing the Epstein files, now all of a sudden is poking back and calling out people, saying that they're stupid, not serious people for wanting the Epstein files released. All these different things are happening to where people are getting pissed off. Mamdani was simply the solution to that. Mamdani just came in with a plan where whether you're Democrat or Republican, you could appreciate a politician saying, actually, I'm going to stay in America and focus on America. Actually, I'm going to stay in New York City and focus on New York City. Why are y'all asking me silly questions about Israel? What does it matter? Are we focused on Jewish Americans or are we focused on Israel? Because in any other situation, we try to act as if it's two totally different things, right? That's why people get mad at Nick Fuentes for lumping Jewish people all into the category and associating them with Israel. So why in the city where there's I believe the biggest Jewish population in the world, why are we saying, oh, do you agree with Israel's right to exist? What does it have to do? It has nothing to do with that. You support Americans. You support all of the Americans that are citizens of New York City, them living in a peaceful way. So people can feel however they feel. But you know what? I think I heard Patrick Bet-David say this, and I'm not sure if he's going to say it in the video that we're going to review. But it's like that concept that, you know, the market, or what's the concept where it's like the market never lies? Or your customers never lie, you know, that type of, where the market never lies. You put your product out to the market and the market determines who's right and who's wrong. Zohran Mamdani put his product out to the market and the customers, the market determined that they like his product better. Now, people can get upset. People could say it's racist. People could say it's whatever else. Well, the market determined that they like that product more. Let's get into some of these videos. Shout out to Kendrickles. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Shout out to Kendrickles in the building. Nah, appreciate you. We're going to keep it pushing. We're going to keep it pushing. Y'all keep lighting up the group chat. Y'all keep lighting up the group chat. I'll bounce back and forth, but let's get into some of these videos. I first want to take a look at this video from Andrew Schultz. I think it perhaps puts some things in perspective. You all can give me your insight on it, but I thought it was a interesting comments by him, and I thought that it works well to start off the show this way. So let me make sure that you guys are, I know I'm on the corner.
You're a Western Jew. You're raised your entire life with your history, with the stories of your victimization and your oppression, right? Jews have been kicked out of every single country they've ever been in. Like, literally, you go to a country, even on this tour, I'd be doing some research of the city we're in, and then I just come across the date that the Jews were kicked out. And I was like, oh, King George did it to the Jews in the year 1000 or whatever in England. I didn't even know that happened. Like every single country. So you're listening to this information as a Western Jew. You're hearing about it.
Your private grandparents survived the Holocaust.
100%.
He tells you about it.
100%.
People are going to try to exterminate us.
100%. They're telling you this constantly. They're saying, hey, you're different. And just to let you know, it could happen again. We got to be very careful. You got to be on your P's and Q's. And you're a Western Jew that grows up in New York. You grew up in LA or something. You're like, I'm just American. Yeah. I'm like a white kid from America. What are they talking about? Like, you hear about the anti-Semitism that will pop up sometimes, but you're like, I'm American. This is my parents. That was like my parents' time. And then October 7th happens, disgusting act of terror from Hamas, terrorist organization in Gaza, and kills over 1,000 Jews. And you think the reaction is going to be empathy and sympathy and concern for you and what your people just went through, this disgusting act. But all of a sudden, you see the next day, they're like people in the streets seemingly excited about it. This is not everybody, but there are people that are chanting horribly anti-Semitic things.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that voice that you quieted your whole life because you're like, that's just my grandparents being crazy. You're like, holy shit, is it true? This is the worst case scenario. We are different.
I want to just stop it right there very quickly. There's always going to be people shouting certain things that are ignorant, racist, misogynist, anti-Semitic. There's always going to be those things. I know how they use Black victimhood and try to get, convince Black people that all conservatives are racist, that the white man is inherently racist, all these different things. And then what do? They'll show us a video of a random person in middle America screaming the N-word, shouting it as if it represents the entire population. And especially when you get people pissed off. This is the fatigue that sets in with a lot of the victimhood that people embrace. It's no different. Remember that case with Shiloh Hendricks, the lady that was in the park, where the kid apparently tried to grab her wallet, or the kid was autistic, I think, and tried to grab her pocketbook, or she was with her child and she was calling the kid the N-word, and people started giving her money because I guess people were canceling the lady Shiloh. So then her supporters, who already have this Black fatigue where it's been jammed down their throat that everybody's racist, that as a white person, if you grow up, you have this unconscious, all these different things. people got fed up with it. So I don't understand why Israel, Jewish people, when it comes to what Andrew Schultz is talking about, are surprised. This is not just designated for Jewish people. You see how people can respond, and you keep calling somebody a racist, and eventually, you know what? They're like, you know what? F it, I'm racist. Then you get perhaps Nick Fuentes and some of his rhetoric that he uses, because it's like, okay, these are the very same people that have been trying to cancel me, trying to destroy my life. The reason why somebody showed up at my door with a gun trying to kill me, all these different things. We can understand how they're now going to speak in a way that perhaps is a bit extreme, that perhaps is insensitive, all these different things. So I just, you picking a small percentage of the population, it seems to only be held true on one side. I'll give you an example. So Andrew Schultz is talking about Muslims or whoever else was celebrating, let's say something like an October 7th. But you know what we don't talk about? We don't talk about the dancing Israelis, where apparently the dancing Israelis were celebrating after 9/11, right? They were celebrating. Apparently these were people, they had their van with all this security stuff in there, and they had the camera set up as if they knew that 9/11 was getting ready to happen. Look it up. It's called the Dancing Israelis. They were brought in for questioning, and apparently like there's some files that aren't kept, but it seems as if they were aware that something was going to happen. Now, should we look at all Jewish people like that and associate the dancing Israelis and say, you know what, Jewish people knew? No, we shouldn't be doing that. We should be mature enough to understand, like, okay, I know that I may have been taught my whole life that, the conservatives, the Republicans, they don't like black people. They don't care about, people other than the rich folks. Yeah, but as I become an adult, I can have an understanding that's mature enough to say, like, you know what? Maybe all Republicans are not bad. Maybe all Republicans are not racist. And a lot of parents may not realize this, but that's how you're raising a lot of black kids. That's how you're raising a lot of minority kids, I'm assuming, but I can only speak from my perspective. A lot of black kids that I grew up with, you grow up thinking that Republicans are racist, period. You grow up thinking that. So then when something happens, what do we typically align with? Oh yeah, that aligns with the same things that I was taught, as I was growing up. So now you're ready to crash out on your stance here and be radicalized in this. It's the same thing with other people as well. It happens across the board. We have to be mature and say, you know what? Perhaps this thing that this one person is doing or that this group is doing does not represent the masses. You're in the Democratic Party. Your party, the things that they do and push when it comes to radicalism, some of the radical policies that they push, you don't even agree with. So why do we put a blanket on a lot of these things that we shouldn't, in my opinion? Let's keep going.
Anti-Semitic things.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that voice that you quieted your whole life because you're like, that's just my grandparents being crazy. You're like, holy shit, is it true? This is a worst case scenario. We are different. They are out for us. They do hate us. And they hate us because we're Jewish. That's the conclusion that you would logically come to. They want to exterminate us. They want us gone, right? You hear these chants.
And not only are they not giving you sympathy, some people are celebrating.
Oh, exactly.
And that's when I was reaching out to my Jewish friends. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't ever think I've acknowledged that anti-Semitism is a thing still.
You're a West.
And then that's exactly what happened. What we talked about the other day, a situation occurred. Now my family and a whole bunch of other people were reaching out to, our Jewish family and friends and telling them like, oh my God, like, we can't believe that this happened. It happened in Israel. Like, we're feeding into it. We all become a part of it. And we think we're doing our friends a favor. We're thinking, but are we encouraging more of the victim behavior? Let's Robert, I think Critical Thinking wrote something. So Critical Thinking wrote something interesting. You all still don't get that these people at the top don't have borders. What do you mean by that? Because I think I understand what you're saying, but elaborate on that a little bit more. Unc wrote, I saw that, nephew, this footage from Jersey City where there was a surveillance truck set up 3 days with Mossad agent. I'm assuming you're talking about Mossad agents that they arrested 24 hours later. They were in Canada. It's an interesting story if you actually look into it. Shout out to Anthony's in the building. Good morning, y'all. All right, so let's get into the first video. I think we're going to use this Patrick Bet David video to start the discussion around Mamdani. So we'll start off here, and then we'll go to Nick Fuentes, and he'll give some of his feedback, and we'll review that as well. So let's share this tab.
Exact one. There's one that you look at where it shows you, without him, if Mamdani was in the race, if he was not in the race, what would have happened? Mamdani wins. Cuomo second. Sliwa's third. Cuomo gives a very nice speech. Hey, congratulations to Mamdani. Incredible job campaigning. One of the best campaigns ever put together. The groundwork, he was very complimentary of what he had to say about him. Sliwa was very angry. Sliwa did the Sliwa thing. He went out there and said, if you guys do anything to the streets, we're going to mobilize. We're going to unify. We're going to mobilize. He gave that kind of a message. But at the same time, while everyone was thinking Mamdani could be a unifier, this was a speech that he gave yesterday. This was his victory speech. And when you hear this victory speech, he sings a song. Not Frank Sinatra, not an English song, Born in the USA, not any of that stuff, a very different song. But I want you to watch this. He still maintains a smile, but tell me if he sounds excited, unifying, or angry. Go ahead, Rob.
Before we get into the, no, we'll go.
If anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power.
How many people are in that room? What does it sound like?
This is not only how we stop Trump,
what do you think?
It's how we stop the next one.
Yeah, a couple thousand.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
All right, so when y'all hear that, do you think that this is a message of unity? And I want to focus on a couple different comments that I saw. But do you think that this is a message of unity? Do you think that this is something that can bring the people of New York City together, that can create a culture that the rest of America can adopt as a unifying one? Y'all tell me. So Dank Buds wrote, Dank Buds. I see the political spectrum as the leftist and the Israeli-controlled right, and that includes Trump and MAGA. I agree. And see, I think based on this election, I think a lot of people agree. It's the leftists who have been radicalized. So here you got like the LGBTQ radical left, and then you have the Israeli-controlled right. And, they clearly have influence over Trump and MAGA. Like, MAGA is done. There is no MAGA. Like, MAGA holds no weight, in my opinion. Like, MAGA, whatever you get, as soon as Bibi Netanyahu jumped on TV telling people that, what are the qualifications for being MAGA, that you need to support Israel or you're not MAGA, MAGA's been dead. Nobody's rocking with MAGA. Nobody believes Trump is even like putting America first. Nobody is with that. Like, that's last year. What's happening now is America first. That's what is uniting even a lot of Democrats and Republicans. That's what's bringing a Thomas Massey with the Ro Khanna, with Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's what's bringing those people together. We're shifting. There is a shift that's going on. And both the Democrats and the Republicans are to blame. You allowed your party to be taken over by the most radical people in it. So now I guess we'll just have to sit back and see what happens. So Critical Thinking elaborated on what we asked him earlier. And he said that country borders is a fence around our tribe, right? So these people at the top, they use that as a tool to further keep us divided as a human race. They have assets all over the world. Their border is space. You are 100% right. I think we touched on this maybe a week or two ago, where it's like the people at the top, they don't see America, with the borders or Canada. They're just at the top. Like, they just control everything. Like, everything is just a simulation for them. okay, we'll have this country do this country do this. We'll put some money in. Hey, what you got going on over there? Okay, all right, I'll put some money into it. It seems like that's what's happening. If I was a billionaire, if I was a trillionaire, one of these people that have so much money that you don't even know my name, do you think that I would like box myself into only being for America? No, I'm going to run all of this stuff with my other friends that will do the same. People on teams, players on teams, those are the ones that have the allegiance. The people, the owners pay you to have an allegiance to the team. It's not the same. Like at those higher levels, it's not the same. I remember a guy that worked with, when I was playing up in Canada, he worked with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I don't want to give his name. My dog, he was a cool dude. And he worked for one team in Hamilton. But I remember when I was talking to him about where he lives, he was saying that he lives in Toronto. You know, he spends most of his time, and he's like, yo, don't tell anybody, you know? Like, no, they don't look at it like that. There's like gang leaders are not, the people that have to stay committed and boxed in, those are the people with not a lot of power, all right? So I agree with you on that. Let's keep it moving. My fault for taking too much time on that. There's a whole lot more to go along with the dancing Israeli story to connect with 9/11. A whole lot. And I'm not sure if y'all have watched Tucker Carlson's documentary on 9/11. I need to finish it, but I wonder if there's anything in there more that kind of exposed a lot of the things that are going on. All right, it's yeah. Let's keep going. Let's keep going with the PPD combo because I want y'all to hear some of their responses to Mamdani winning.
Can you put the clip, Rob, of what he said about Cuomo, where he said, this is the last time I will ever say the Cuomo name again? Listen to this one, folks.
My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty. I wish Andrew Cuomo only the best in private life. But let tonight be the final time I utter his name as we turn the page on a politics that abandons the many and answers only to the few. After all, if anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him.
You can pause it right there. All right, so what are your thoughts on what happened last night with New York City, Barry?
Well, first of all, when you look at the numbers, pretty good chance that he would not have won if, let's just say, it was either Sliwa or Cuomo had backed out. So that's one. So I'm not so sure this is a mandate that that New York City totally got behind and wanted.
You're in denial. The numbers showed that Sliwa, I mean, unless the numbers change based on how I looked at it, but the numbers as was last reported, but I'll double check, showed that Sliwa and Cuomo together wouldn't have beaten Mamdani, like the amount of votes that they got. And people just assumed that if Sliwa pulled out the race, that all of those votes would go to Cuomo. And a lot of people are blaming the Democrats, like, why would you even put a guy like Cuomo up there? Like, Cuomo's hated by Democrats and Republicans. And that's the person that y'all decided to go run up against Mamdani? You underestimated Mamdani. That's what you did. You underestimated Mamdani, and perhaps the reason why you underestimated Mamdani is because you did not read the room correctly. You're not understanding that just because, and I'm talking to the politicians, just because AIPAC and the Zionists, the contributor, the donors have a hold on you, that's not how Americans are feeling. Just because you can take lobbying money and it influence how you see the world, how you see different things, how you see life, it blinded you from understanding the temperature and exactly how New Yorkers were feeling. Now you're trying to sit here and saying that this wasn't a mandate. Okay, y'all can be in denial if y'all want. Y'all can be in denial if y'all want. This was a strong response. This is a 34-year-old who has never had a job. I don't think that Mamdani's ever had a job. And he's a rich kid. And he's appealing to the poor, right? The poor people, the immigrants and all that. Maybe this is why people are scared. Maybe this is why even when it comes to, some of the abortion rules. Well, I can't even say that, but because I was getting ready to say, maybe this is why people are scared, with certain people having abortions, and they're trying to fear monger, saying that white people are going to be the minority, because I mean, it's likely that could happen. Is it going to change the country? Perhaps. Yes. When you bring new people in, it'll change the country. I'm going to hold off on what I was getting ready to say until they actually discuss it on here. Let's keep going.
His speech, I think it pretty much speaks for itself. It's not a unifying speech. It's not something that we're gonna work together. This is a very divisive speech, and I don't think that portends good things when you're being divisive.
Yeah, if you look at this here, Tom, this is the numbers.
Do you guys call out this same energy when it's at the Republican Jewish Coalition and they're saying that they're killing the right people? Do you call out this same energy when they're at the Republican Jewish Coalition and Officer Tatum is saying that he wanted to turn Palestine, Gaza into a parking lot? Do you have this same criticism when Mark Levin is up here campaigning for genocides and Israel being right to take defending themselves, in quotes, to whatever extreme measures? Do we have the same energy? This is what happens. This radical swing back and forth is what happens when people in that group do not hold that particular group accountable. This is what happens when the good police officers don't hold the bad police officers accountable. The rest of the people get pissed off, and then we start having politicians talking about defund the police. It would have never been able to get to that point because people would have saw the good police officers calling out the bad police officers and extended a lot more grace. But where people get pissed off with is when people in the particular group defend that group from doing any and everything. This is what happens. There's zero accountability in all these groups, and that's just what continues to fuel this pendulum swing.
50%, 1,006,000 votes. Cuomo, 831,000 votes. Sliwa, 143. If you combine the two together, puts it at 975-ish. So would have lost by 30,000 votes. I don't know what the rest is, if there's a couple other things on the bottom, but some other chart said that there was a chance if Sliwa would have stepped out for Mamdani to win. Having said that, Tom, what do you think about what happened last night? How big of a victory is this? Because I got a lot of thoughts about this, which I'll share here in a minute. But what are you thinking, Tom?
Well, if I just look at the numbers were tightening up over the last 2 weeks. And they were tightening up because finally Andrew Cuomo was running a campaign that was sort of had been a little tone deaf and a little bit stale, I think. As youth that felt the same way. We were calling for him to do it, and he tightened it up. And it was this was supposed to be a 14 to 16 point spread. It's an 8-point spread right now. So this tightened up significantly. So number one, I agree with Barry. This is not a mandate. But number two, what really worries me, listen to his speech. This is authoritarian speech. This is the kind of call and response. It's a dog whistle back to the kind of the Mussolini days and the kind of things that he promised to the people there.
Stop crying. I don't want to hear all this crying. You want to know why I don't want to hear all this crying? Because y'all don't ever say that when Donald Trump is speaking like that. Donald Trump ran a campaign. This is what people were liking, right? This is what people liked. You don't think it was insensitive when Donald Trump says, "Make America great again" to certain, you don't think that's offensive to some people? Well, let's go back. Donald Trump, when was America great? Who was it great for? All this crying on both sides. Like this is what a lot of us. So Donald Trump can go out and say the things that he's saying, and these same people not hold him accountable. But then you're upset when Mamdani. This is sore loser behavior, in my opinion. And it would be totally different if you actually called out Trump, let's say, for some of the things that he's done. But you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't. There's this lack of consistent energy, in my opinion, is what creates this. And Steve put it best: the pendulum swings as high as our emotions allow. So just like people got emotionally attached to Donald Trump's MAGA campaign and all the things that came along with it, regardless of whether or not it was insensitive, People didn't care. People were just so, you know what, we're rocking with him. It's the same thing with Mamdani. Let's keep it going.
Now, he was a terrible, terrible despot, but listen to how he gained power and what he promised to the people. Free this and make the trains run on time. Very famous and all that. And you know what really was alarming to me, and there's a lot of these out there, Rob, I just sent it to you. Look at this, Pat. This is...
Did Tom, and I skipped ahead of it, but did Tom, and I like Tom, but did Tom just say that he sounds like, did he say Mussolini? And then say he wants the trains to run on time? Like, is that, did I, hold on, let me go back to that.
Very famous and all that. And he gained power and what was to the people there. Dog whistle back to the kind of the Mussolini days and the kind of things that he promised to the people there. Now, he was a terrible, terrible despot, but listen to how he gained power and what he promised to the people. Free this and make the trains run on time. Very famous and all that. And you know what really was alarming to me, and there's a lot of these out there, Rob, I just sent it to you. Look at this, Pat. This is an intern, and this is confirmed. She is an intern, and this is current. So by all sources that we looked at, this is not AI, and this is not something from time gone by. But look at this. This is all jihad. This is all abadah. This is all counted by Allah. How committed I am to this. What am I willing to sacrifice for the noble cause? What they're saying is, she is saying this is the start of holy war and jihad in America. I'm not making that up. That's what she said in her language, her words. And so they...
I got to go back to that. Zohar Mamdani's intern, Hadika Arzu Malik, explains that electing him is part of a holy war and jihad. This is all jihad, which I had to look up what jihad means because people throw around a lot of these words. And to be totally honest, I'm guilty of, I thought jihad was like a negative word, the way that people use it. But what it means is, it's the Arabic word. It literally means struggle or striving. So in its broad sense, it refers to making effort in the cause of God, spiritual, moral, or physical. So it's the inner struggle to live a righteous life, controlling anger, resisting temptation, being honest, helping others, and staying faithful. That's what's considered under the greater jihad. And then the lesser jihad refers to external struggle or defense, including defending the Muslim community when attacked, fighting oppression or injustice. Sounds very similar to what I would hear on the ADL's website or something like that. What defending the Muslim community when attacked? Well, I'm pretty sure that, Bibi Netanyahu could just replace, Muslim with Jewish. Fighting oppression or injustice, ADL, the inner struggle to live. What? Okay, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Hold on, let me get back to it. So it says, this is jihad. This is all ibadah. I'm not sure what ibadah is. This is all counted by Allah. How committed am I to this? What am I willing to sacrifice for this noble cause? Is anything that she said, am I tripping? Or is anything that she said, is that offensive? Like, so, I mean, obviously we didn't see the video, but am I missing something that I should be seeing? That's what I'm asking y'all. Y'all let me know, but let's keep going with the video.
What am I willing to sacrifice for the noble cause? What they're saying is, she is saying this is the start of holy war and jihad in America. I'm not making that up. That's what she said in her language, her words. And so they say, now listen to Mamdani. He's not there to unify. He's not there to reach across the aisle. He is telling people exactly what they're doing. Dismantle. Turn the page. Listen to the verb words. This is scary. This is the same wave that happened in Minneapolis, outside of the view of so many Americans, and what's happening there. This is heavy, Pat. This is not just about the mayor of New York City and how Cuomo should have started the campaign differently and sooner. This is that people in New York City were realizing it. It was tightening up, but it was too late, and now they got it. And you listen to what they're saying, that they're coming. They're saying we're coming. We're not here to unify with you. We are coming, and there is a higher calling and a jihad, and what we're coming to change you.
We're here to take it down.
Right. And they're
To take what down? What are we talking about? What am I missing?
being very open. And again, from everything we've been able to find, Rob and I looked, she is the intern. Those were her words, and that was last night.
She said that last night, Rob?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, because this came out 15 hours ago.
Let me just hear what she says.
The true believer knows that none of this is in vain, that this is all jihad, that this is all ibadah, and that this is all counted for by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the conversation of doxing, the conversation of getting arrested and suspended, I think it's time for Muslims to start to say, all right, so what? Do what you want. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, because it's about time to do that. And I know everybody has their own families and all right, so what? The conversation of doxing, the conversation of getting arrested and suspended, I think it's time for Muslims to start to say, all right, so what? Do what you want. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, because it's about time to do that. And I know everybody has their own families and has an education and everything. It's just a question. We don't want to get doxxed, and we don't want to get suspended, and we don't want to get arrested.
You can pause that. I have so much to say.
Before Patrick Bet David goes, is this any different than like any other movement that we've heard? Whether it's Nick Fuentes, whether it's some of the civil rights leaders, like, what do you expect when you're kicking people out of the country for having an opinion that doesn't align with your pro-Israel stance? What do you expect when you're making decisions about who to give visas and looking at their social medias to see if they said something negative about Israel? What do you expect? Like, what do y'all expect? And I looked up what the word ibadah means. It just means serving, submitting, or showing devotion to God. What do you expect? But let's hear Patrick Bet David.
Brandon, I'll come to you and I'll give the thoughts and then we'll move on. Go ahead.
I mean, like, what do we expect? I mean, I'm honestly wondering if the powers that be put Cuomo in place just to put a candidate they knew was going to lose. Because if you want to think of a guy who's universally hated in New York by both Democrats and Republicans, like, who better than Cuomo? It's like when they got Woodrow Wilson elected, they got, they put like 3 candidates in the race just so that he would win. He won with like 30% of the margin. So I wonder if this is an intentional attempt to destroy the city. Because, now they officially let a wolf in the hen house where, this city, as much hate as we give New York a lot of time for the things that we disagree with, it is the pillar of America. It's the biggest GDP. It's 5% of the U.S. GDP. It's the biggest city in the country by a lot. It's like $2 trillion in GDP. The next biggest is $1 trillion. I mean, the area lost $1 trillion of wealth from 2020 to 2023. So this is going to drive job creators out and bring in the worst types of people. So, it's going to look like Gotham City, and I hope that they could survive long enough for people to learn how to actually who to vote for, what kind of policies they should have.
To your point, I agree with you.
Hold on. Did he just say that it's going to drive the good people out? And hold on, I got to listen to that again. I'm sorry. I just got to make sure that I'm hearing all this.
By both Democrats and going to lose, because if you want to think of a guy who's universally hated in New York by both Democrats and Republicans, like, who better than Cuomo? It's like when they got Woodrow Wilson elected, they got they put like 3 candidates in the race just so that he would win. He won with like 30% of the margin. So I wonder if this is an intentional attempt to destroy the city, because now they officially let a wolf in the hen house where this city, as much hate as we give New York.
So who's in the hen house? If Mamdani's the wolf, what makes him a wolf, and who are the hens? What's going on here?
New York a lot of time for the things that we disagree with. It is the pillar of America. It's the biggest GDP. It's 5% of the U.S. GDP. It's the biggest city in the country by a lot. It's like $2 trillion in GDP. The next biggest is $1 trillion. I mean, the area lost $1 trillion of wealth from 2020 to 2023. So this is going to drive job creators out and bring in the worst types of people. So it's going to look like Gotham City, and I hope that they could survive.
It's going to bring in the worst type of people. Who is he talking about? I understand him saying that it's going to drive a lot of the job creators out because they're saying that, okay, with the taxes, we saw a lot of people leave out of California during 2020. We actually saw a lot of people leave out of New York, go to Jersey, even though all these New Yorkers, they're leaving New York and going to Jersey, even though Jersey's taxes, I believe, are even higher than New York. So I don't know if New Yorkers are going to be the same as Californians and move to Arizona, move to Austin. I don't know if that's going to be the case. New Yorkers have been moving, I guess, down to Miami, but from how I look at it is the majority of the people with the big money, they just, they have their home down in Florida, but they're still working in New York City. I find it very hard to believe that New York City is not going to still be New York City. But I just, when he says that it's driving all the job creators out and it's bringing in all the bad, didn't he use the word bad?
Bring in the worst types of people. It's going to look like Gotham City, and I hope that they could survive long enough for people to learn how to actually who to vote for, what kind of policies they should have.
To your point, I agree with you. And to your point, there's a lot of people that would never vote for Cuomo because of what happened during COVID, and they lost people. There's a lot of women that are going to resent Cuomo because of allegations and situations where he was disrespectful, to say the least. So he had a lot of the deck stacked against him from voters that he would normally need. So I agree with you. Why run somebody like that who doesn't really have support that's needed to win this thing?
Yeah. You know what I would say? Here's what I would say. Now I want to watch a couple of these clips, Van Jones. And remember, guys, Wednesdays is all business. So how does this relate to you business-wise? Because here's how I look at it from the business standpoint on Wednesdays. Let's talk strategy. If Christians in the world were in the business of going and converting everybody else, and they started targeting, like Muslims may be targeting the Western ideology. What if we targeted their ideology? What city would you go after? What's the number one city when you think about Muslims? What is the number one city in the world? Think about the number one city in the world for Muslims. Where is it? Tell me the city. What do you think? I'm asking. Is it Mecca? Is it, what would you say is the number one city? Would you say, pick it, is it Mecca? Is it Saudi? Is it Tehran? Is it, where do you go to? Whatever that city is, imagine if you go and you take that city over and the leader of that city is officially a Christian. What's the likelihood of this happening? What's the likelihood of a Christian capitalist taking over Mecca? What is it? You know what the likelihood is? 0.
Right.
So check this out. Flip it. If the Islam religion comes to you and they hire you as a consultant, you are the consulting firm. You.Inc., right? You're incorporated. We are hiring you. We want to impose our ideology on Western cities. What is the number one city for us to go to be able to share this ideology with? What do you think is the number one city on that list?
New York City.
New York City. Boom, we got victory. They just won. And they took over that city. Congratulations to you. Do you know, if you're a Muslim, how massive of a victory this is for them?
I'm sorry. So when a Muslim person wins office, it's a massive win for Muslims, right? We can categorize all Muslims and say they're all happy, they won. But we don't do that when it comes to Jewish people, right? Because when we're talking about Israel, we have to be very careful in saying, well, we're not talking about all Jewish people. We're just talking about Israel, right? I just see the hypocrisy, but maybe I may be a little bit off in how I'm seeing it. So please let me know.
It's massive. Here's the question. Do Americans, who the founding fathers built the greatest country in the world ever, that did in 249 years what a couple countries couldn't do in thousands of years, will they protect it? Or will they be walking on eggshells and saying, it's not a big deal? No one's going to be leaving New York City. Here's the reality. To all the people that are saying no one's leaving New York City, to all the people that saw that, what is it, Unusual Whales or whatever that account is that says 756,000 New Yorkers will definitely, keyword, are definitely moving out of New York City if Mamdani wins. This is 9% of New York City residents saying they definitely would move out of New York City if he wins. An additional 2.12 million New Yorkers said they would consider leaving should he take office. Here's the reality of it. Let's flip it. Forget about who's moving out of New York City. Here's my question for you. Who's moving to New York City? You ready? Let's talk about who it's a good climate for now. There's a video clip of him saying, why are we putting people in jail? He wants to release them. If you're a criminal, hello, I'm moving to New York City. Number two, if you're an illegal immigrant, are you kidding me? I'm moving to New York City. What if you're a Muslim? Oh my, I got Dearborn. I got a Muslim mayor in the biggest #1 city in America. I'm moving to New York City. So guess what, to all the people that said nobody will leave New York City? It's about who's coming to New York City. You're welcome. And they're going to come in bunches. You know how I know this? I would ask, why did Armenians move to Glendale?
All right, before Patrick Bet-David makes it about himself, let's actually look at what the founding fathers. So let's hold on. Let me share this real quick. Let me share this with y'all. Let's actually take a look at what the founding fathers thought. What did the founding fathers think about religion? So it says they all valued freedom of religion, but they didn't all agree on what religion's role in government should be. Here's a clear breakdown. So nearly all the founding fathers agreed that religion should not be controlled by government and that people should be free to believe or not believe as they choose. The principle became the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So America was founded on religious liberty. So let me ask y'all this. If a city like Dearborn or any other city, if a bunch of Muslims want to move to a city, is that wrong? Is that a problem? It may be, and I just may not be seeing it correctly. But is that wrong? See, I think there's a difference between certain people that may appreciate certain conservative values or certain things that Donald Trump may do as far as us seeing a problem with illegal immigration. See, I think it's not just a monolith when it comes to people that have an issue with illegal immigration. There's people that have an issue with illegal immigration, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people who are legally here, if you want to all move to a particular city and people are selling y'all those homes, selling the apartments, whatever that may be, then should we, put a cap on how many Muslim people should be able to live in a particular area? Should we put a cap? Like, is it a problem that New York City and Miami are so overwhelmingly populated with Jewish people? Like that the concentration is so strong there? Should that be a problem? Like, we all like to sit here and act as if, from like the Charlie Kirk mindset and the Ted Cruz, that America was founded on Judeo-Christian values. Well, was it Christian values or Judeo-Christian values? Because I'm not sure that Jewish people, outside of when it's convenient to identify Christian values and Jewish values the same, I'm not sure that that's how they see it. Even when I hear Ben Shapiro describe who Jesus was, a revolting Jew who pissed off some Romans, like he said something like that. So when just because we throw the two words together doesn't mean that they align. So is it a problem, let's say, for a city to be overwhelmingly Muslim? I'm just asking. I'm asking, but let's keep going a little bit. Let's keep going. So it says, and then when it says here, nearly all the founding fathers agreed that religion should not be controlled by government. Is it safe to say that they also likely believe that government shouldn't be controlled by religion? You see where we're going at, right? You see where this conversation is leading to. When you have representatives on both sides saying that AIPAC and the Israeli influence is huge and different than any other influence when it comes to politics. Does Patrick Bet-David have a problem with that? Or just a problem when, well, you'll see all these Muslims are going to be moving into New York City. So what? New Yorkers don't have to run. You don't have to run to Florida. You don't have to run to wherever else you may run to. You don't have to run to Jersey. You can stay where you're at. You can stay where you're at and perhaps elect another mayor that maybe sees things how you see it years from now, or maybe you want to shift your product, mold your product a little bit and, market it a little bit better. Maybe you want to present somebody who is maybe a more popular candidate than Curtis Sliwa. Maybe you want to present somebody who's not hated as much as Andrew Cuomo. You're not forced to run, but if you do, then cool. So it says America was founded on religious liberty. So it goes on to talk about what Jefferson, Madison, George Washington said. So Jefferson said, our civil rights have no dependence on our religious opinions. Interesting. I am for freedom of religion and against all maneuvers to bring about a legal ascendancy of one sect over another. Religion is wholly exempt from the cognizance of civil society. That was James Madison, George Washington. Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. Washington saw religion as a moral foundation for society, not something the government should enforce. So they go on. I think we looked at enough of that, but those are the questions that I would have asking Patrick Bet-David. That's what I would be asking him. But let's continue with the conversation.
Why do Assyrians go to Torlak? Why do Assyrians go to Chicago? Why do Persians go to Beverly Hills? Because the first Armenian influencer moved to Glendale, then their families moved, then everybody else moved, then the world moved to Glendale. Because the first Assyrian influencer moved to Torlak, everybody else moved. Moved to Detroit, everybody else moved. Because the first Persian, Middle Eastern moved to Beverly Hills, everybody else moved. What do you think is going to happen right now to New York City? You voted for this, folks. You voted for this, and you are welcome. And your population is about to increase. Everybody else saying it's going to decrease, I think it's going to go up. My opinion. I hope I'm wrong. I'm a minority owner of the Yankees. Trust me, I hope I'm wrong. But for the people that are like, how dare you say such a thing like this? And shame on you. You should not be an owner of this. No. If I lived in New York City, I would be more vocal than sitting on the sidelines saying this will never happen and not going out there rallying other people to vote.
What exactly is about to happen? Like, what exactly is getting ready to happen? Patrick Bet-David, yeah, I'm a minority owner of the New York Yankees, so I guess, what, Muslims don't like the Yankees? Maybe I'm a little off in this. Maybe I'm seeing this a little bit wrong. We'll watch maybe a minute or two more of this, and then I want to get into some of the conversation with Nick Fuentes was having on this issue.
I was vocal in 2024 because I knew I didn't want Kamala. I was vocal in 2020. I risked it. Even though I hadn't I was vocal in 2016. We risked it. You know what it was like to talk pro-Trump in 2016? Everybody was walking on eggshells doing that. Everybody was walking on eggshells in 2020, and then nobody else was walking on eggshells in 2024. So my concern, him and I were talking earlier saying, don't you think this is what America needs? Don't you think we almost need this case study to be able to show that what works and what doesn't work? And I said, look, I get it. I went on Jubilee and I said, I hope Mamdani wins for us to come back and do this 4 years later so you can see exactly what the stats are. But here's what I will tell you. Do you think if you want your kids to know how bad drugs are, would you say, why don't you try a little bit of fentanyl, see how bad it is? Would you do that? Would you say, why don't you try a little bit of cocaine? You know what the only place is? I had a friend of mine who was so addicted to drugs, it got to a point that he was trying everything. Guess what we could do at that time? Nothing. I took him to rehab. I took him to all these other things that we would. I took him to Bible study in Pasadena. Every Friday night, I would pick him up, take him, so he's in the car with me, and I would see him go in his car and his black car, and he would take the pills, and he would take him. I would take the pill out of his hand. He's fighting me and another guy at the back of Shakers in Glendale, saying, give it back to him. I'm not giving back to you. Done. A couple months later, he dies. Young age, 27 years old. He passes away. Till today, I think about it. This guy was a phenomenal. He's a fun guy to be around. I liked him a lot. There are certain things in America you shouldn't flirt with. This is one of them. Don't ever second guess why America became the greatest country in the world. I'm an immigrant. I wasn't born here. I was born in Iran. And then I went to Germany, then I came here. There's no place like America. Nothing. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm going to do my part. I don't need to do this. I don't need another sponsor to pay my bills. I live a very good life. The only reason we're doing this and being this vocal is because I know they're not going to slow down. I know they're not.
All this us versus them. Patrick Bet-David is he could sit here and say he doesn't want another sponsor. Patrick Bet-David panders over and over to the pro-Israel Zionist community. Like, he's a panderer. Like, he sells life insurance, bro. Like, that's what he made his money off of. And I hate to just categorize everybody like that, but I think it takes a special individual to probably grow as much as he has grown in that field. I just, all of this scary talk and all this stuff, people voted for it. I don't like welfare programs. I don't think that they work. Now, I guess we'll have to sit back and wait and see exactly what Mamdani's going to do. We'll have to wait and see. You know, I told y'all before, I liked Curtis Sliwa. Yesterday we talked about it. I'm like, yo, here's somebody that's actually put his, risked his life, put his life on the line. But, people didn't vote for him. So it is what it is. Let's move on to this Nick Fuentes video. Let's share this instead. But this is just more and more fear mongering, in my opinion, when it comes to Mamdani, when it comes to people voted for it. Let's see how it plays out.
Contributing it to. And in the middle of this election night, I see across my timeline people I don't follow, people I've never heard of. They've got the yellow ribbon in their name, many of them with familiar last names. They're all blaming the catastrophe for Republicans on me and Tucker.
Yeah, and the thing about when Patrick Bet-David and people like this speak, doesn't it remind you of this is why people get turned off by a lot of conservatives. Because Patrick Bet-David's saying that he's saying everything he says. But then, you know what? Like, as I'm sitting here thinking, as somebody that doesn't embrace victimhood and argue with a whole bunch of people that do, that doesn't embrace all these welfare programs, you get the point. It just reminds you of a time when, or black people there's too many black people moving in that neighborhood. Patrick Bet-David is acting as if a Muslim should never have the chance to become a mayor of New York City. Like, it's almost like bragging about and celebrating diversity, because diversity does help power America in ways that other countries do not have that. But it's like you celebrate it, but then it's like, well, I don't think that they should ever be in a position of leadership as mayor of New York. So who should? Would you say the same thing, Patrick Bet-David, if a Jewish person became the mayor, especially considering everything that's going on? You know, do we think that our politicians are controlled more by Muslims or more by Jewish people? Which influence is stronger? So would Patrick Bet-David jump up on here and say, you know what, this is a problem? The Jews just won. There's going to be more and more Jews moving here. They're going to continue to take over our power. Would he have that same energy? And maybe it's this, do people actually just think that Muslims, like the Muslim religion, is more violent than Judaism or Christianity? Let's specifically with Judaism. I believe that Judaism is a more violent religion. Well, when you look at the Old Testament, let's just put it that way. I think that the Old Testament is clearly more violent than the New Testament. But do we just think that Muslims are just violent? Do we think that Muslims are just like serial killers? Like, what do we think about that? I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering, because this is the same type of energy. Well, I don't want them moving in here. I don't want them moving in here. What's the difference? So a Muslim should never have the opportunity to be the mayor of New York. That's what I'm receiving when I hear
Carlson.
David.
They said it's our fault. They said that people like me are a Democrat op to split the vote. We're here to divide Republicans, make Republicans look bad. Seriously? First of all, the Tucker Carlson interview happened a week ago. That just doesn't even make sense. Nobody made their decision in this election, especially with all the early voting, because Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes and they were paying super close attention to the internecine right-wing infighting. That's just not real. What is obvious about what happened last night and what has been happening last year is everything I just described with the Heritage Foundation. Why do you think people are flocking to the Democratic Party? It's because the Republicans are not delivering. Think about the past year. Trump got elected exactly 1 year ago, November 5th. He was inaugurated a little bit after that in January of 2025. What's the Trump administration been up to in the golden age? They promised to bring prices down. Did they do that? No. Inflation is persistently high. They promised mass deportations. Did they do that? No. The numbers are out, and they say 600,000 total deportations. That probably means 400,000 interior removals. Nothing close to a mass deportation. They said they'd end the war in Ukraine. Did that happen? Absolutely not. What did they do with regard to the economy? Did they pass an infrastructure bill? Did they give subsidies to businesses? Did they bring in manufacturing? Did they cut taxes for the middle class? In the big, beautiful bill, they extended the 2017 Paul Ryan Tax and Jobs Act. It's a corporate tax cut.
And I want to respond to something very quickly. So 8 Mystery Joe wrote, question, is Shira law in conflict with the Constitution? We can definitely look into it, but why don't we also insert, so edit that comment and write, is Shira law, and perhaps write Judaism in conflict with the Constitution? Is the Old Testament in conflict with the Constitution? Let's not just make it about one, right? Let's not just make it about one. And it shouldn't even be, and obviously in the grand scheme of things, it shouldn't even play a role, because we just saw what our founding fathers wanted, right? They wanted religious freedom, religious liberty. But if you're going to ask questions about one, then let's ask it about the other as well. Let's ask it about the one that seems to have had or is having a greater influence on our politicians. Like, we're over here complaining about the fear of what a Muslim influence could create, while we're actively experiencing what a Jewish Israeli influence is doing to our government. So think about it like this. We are living in America, right? During times where both Republicans are pissed off, Democrats are pissed off. Democrats have the lowest approval rating in a long time. Donald Trump has a low approval rating. Republicans are having a civil war. So while all this is going on, one thing that we do know is that Israel has a large influence. Jewish Americans have a large influence on Donald Trump and our politicians, right? Because y'all said AIPAC is not foreign. So if AIPAC is Jewish Americans, then we have to say that. So we do know that that's happening, but instead we'll care more about what could happen if Muslims have an influence. As somebody who doesn't belong or pledge my allegiance to either, it seems a bit hypocritical when we're currently experiencing one. We're living in, think about it like this. We're living in America where people are upset right now on both sides. I don't think anybody's happy with America right now. Who has the greatest influence when it comes to our politicians? I don't need to repeat it again, right? But now we're sitting here complaining about the what if, well, this could turn into this or that. Where's your energy in calling out what's going on right now? Where's that energy? Where's the energy in looking back at the last 20 years, the wars that we've been involved with, the death and destruction that we visited upon other countries? Where's your energy when it comes to that? We're over here complaining or scaring and fear-mongering people because, oh my God, we got a Muslim mayor in New York City. I'm not saying that I even like Mamdani. I don't know enough about his policies, but I can, without even knowing about him, I can very confidently say, or, you know, I probably would disagree with him. And I'd say I probably would disagree with him. I'm not going to. I don't like social programs. I don't like welfare programs. I don't like those things. But we're sitting here acting as if Mamdani has already committed a lot of the things that we're acting as if Mamdani's been committing a genocide. Last time I checked, the genocide wasn't happening by the Muslims to Israel. But all of this energy is so focused on, what is it? Is it a fear of the unknown? We just don't know about Islam enough, or what is it? Like, so we're scared about it. Like, people have scared us into thinking that it's something like, you think all Muslims are just, just strap bombs on themselves and just like, is that what we're thinking?
This is what the Republicans have been up to. We're 1 year in the hole, and forget about all the other things that have been going on. Forget about bombing Iran. Forget about all the aforementioned betrayals. And Republicans are blaming Tucker Carlson for losing. They're blaming it on anti-Semitism. They're blaming it on the woke right. It's obvious. Even in New York City, what did Zohran Mamdani talk about the entire year? It's not complicated. You look at Zohran Mamdani's playbook, even in New York City, and what he talked about from the time he started running in the primary through the general, right up until last night, is affordability. That's it. Affordable housing, affordable transportation, affordable groceries, affordable health care. That was literally the entire message. Make things cheaper. Make it easier for people to live. That's the message of the Democrats. Housing, healthcare, transportation, groceries. Republicans are wondering why they lost. What have Republicans been talking about? Specifically, in New York City, you practically had Jewish billionaires like Bill Ackman begging everybody else to drop out because Zohran Mamdani is an anti-Semite. That was the messaging. Do you know what I knew about the New York City mayoral race as a relative outsider, somebody living in Chicago, somebody not following it so closely? You know what I knew about the race? I knew that Bill Ackman, the Jewish pro-Israel billionaire, was trying to bribe Curtis Sliwa to leave the race. He was campaigning for Andrew Cuomo because Mamdani said he would arrest Bibi Netanyahu if he set foot in New York City. That was the Republican messaging. The Republican messaging is that if you let Mamdani do rent control, then all the rich are going to leave. And if you let Mamdani win, then Israel is going to be under attack. That was the messaging on the Republican side. How about the mayoral debate? Does anybody remember that 6 months ago when they got on the debate stage and it was a crowded Democratic primary? They went one by one. If you're elected mayor of New York, what's the first foreign trip you're going to take? And one after the other. They said the Holy Land, Israel, the Holy Land. What did Mamdani say? I'm going to stay in New York. But let's not get it twisted. Mamdani is a third worldist, Muslim, whatever you want to say. And by the way, he's pro-Israel. Let's just not even forget that. He is a Zionist at the end of the day. But in particular, in that line of questioning, they said, you wouldn't go to Israel? That was the follow-up. They said, which country would you visit? He said, none. They said, why isn't it Israel? He said, I'm going to stay in New York. They said, do you think Israel has a right to exist? This was the unironic line of questioning. He said, yes. They said, does it have a right to exist as a Jewish state? Now, bear in mind about the New York race in particular. Consider that New York City has a larger Jewish population than any other city in the world. It's actually New York City, which is the capital of the Jewish nation, not Israel. More Jews live there than in Tel Aviv, than in Jerusalem. And the Jews that live in New York are richer than the Jews living anywhere else and more influential and powerful. New York City's like a fifth or a quarter Jewish. And so for people that are wondering why is that such a big concern? And by the way, that's not just me saying that. That's also reflected in the exit polling. Half of the voters said that they made their decision in part because of their views on Israel. For a mayor's race, They were not running. This is not a race for Secretary of State or President of America or anything with a diplomatic capacity. This was for New York City's mayor. They handled garbage collection and public works and property taxes and rent, the subway. And more than half the voters said, we are in part making our decision because of Israel. And that's because of what the city is comprised of. You're wondering why people elected this guy? It's because this is the guy that's talking about our problems in America. And whatever his solutions are, I don't think they're good solutions. Tax the rich, free groceries, free transportation, that's not a good idea. But he's got a solution. And you have to wonder about Republican politicians, think tanks, donors. Do they even care? Do they actually want to win? Because I would think that if the Republican president and vice president, who has ambitions for 28, I would think that if Republicans actually wanted to win, maybe they would recognize this has become an albatross around their necks. No, I'm not saying that Republicans lost in Virginia because of Israel. Probably Republicans lost in Virginia because of the shutdown. Northern Virginia is the population center. And all those people that live in Arlington and Alexandria and those exurbs of DC, they'll have government jobs. They're all government contractors. With the government shutdown and DOGE and Trump's assault on the federal bureaucracy, it's alienated all those people, even people that like Trump. So maybe that's why. But in New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, in New York, Republicans are sliding back in a huge way, at least in part, maybe not because of what they say about Israel, but the fact that they're so focused on Israel at the expense of everything else.
Yo, this was Nick's show last night. So what did we talk about on yesterday's show? We touched on all of this. And it's not even like, you know, we can even pat ourselves on the back and say, hey, we were ahead on this. It's obvious. It's obvious. Why are you asking New York City mayors and doubling down and having follow-up questions as if you're offended because they said that they wouldn't go to Israel? So I would ask Patrick Bet-David, do you think that's what the founding fathers wanted? When George Washington said that we shouldn't get involved in foreign affairs, did you think that George Washington wanted a New York City mayor, right? Our biggest city in America, perhaps our most important city in America. Do you think that George Washington ever wanted it to get to a point where for the New York City mayor debate, they're being asked which country you would visit, and when somebody says only one candidate out of like 10 says, I'd stay in New York, the majority of everybody else is saying, I go to the Holy Land, I visit Israel, I visit Israel. Do you think that's what George Washington wanted? Do you think that when they talk about religious liberty, when they talk about not getting involved in foreign affairs, based on those principles that he was standing by, do you think that's what he wanted? But Patrick Bet-David won't say that.
In the past year, and this is what I said during the election last year, in Trump's first year in office, have Americans been put first? Have American, and in particular Republican voters, have they been taken care of? The answer is no. If you could list the top 3 things that you voted for Trump to achieve, have any of those things happened? Because for me, the answer is no. For me, the top 3 were mass deportations, no new wars, and tariffs. Have any of these things really systematically happened? The answer is no. There have been no mass deportations. Sure, the border is closed, but that's too little too late. They closed the border after they let 10 million people in. Yeah, that's the least you could do. We need to start getting the people out. They're not doing it. There's no focus on that. And as a matter of fact, Trump said we're actually going to keep some of those people here. And some that are sent out, we're going to bring back in on work visas. Trump said the radical right will understand when I do that. Well, I'm not happy about that. How about no new wars? Has that been achieved? Absolutely not. We're getting in another war. Think about where we are. The current position of the United States. The war in Ukraine is raging on. We bombed Iran. We're bombing Somalia. We're talking about getting involved in Nigeria. We're about to go to war in Venezuela. And number three, as far as tariffs are concerned, what the hell is even that? They declared Liberation Day on April 2nd. Then they took all the tariffs back. Then they put some of them back on. Then they made some bilateral deals. And the whole economy is still reeling. Nobody wants to invest money. Nobody wants to make a move because everybody's waiting for the next shoe to drop. Trump doesn't even have the authority to do some of the tariffs. So it's held up in the Supreme Court. This is not an American system. This is not tariffs and subsidies that's actually going to facilitate domestic industry. This is just like every other ad hoc, disorganized policy. And people could make the excuses about any of it, about the deportations, about the foreign policy, about the tariffs. They could talk about political realities. But here's why that doesn't work. At the same time the administration has failed to deliver any of this, they have rolled out the red carpet for everybody else and with everything else. And I'm not just talking about Israel. What did they do for the Israel lobby? They bombed Iran. They went to war against the Houthis. They gave Israel $12 billion in aid. When they froze foreign aid for every other country, they kept it going for Israel. They replenished the missiles. They sent 2 carrier strike groups. Netanyahu has been to the White House 4 times. Israel is very pleased. Trump went there to sign this grand deal that Israel's violating with the procession of diplomats that are there to oversee it. So the Israelis are getting everything they want and more. How about Silicon Valley? They're getting everything they want in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of defense contracts. Doge did not cut the deficit $1, but it did bring in all of Palantir's people. It did bring in all of Elon Musk's people. They brought in Anduril. They brought in SpaceX, all these companies. They're all firmly entrenched in the Department of War, in the National Security Council. They got what they wanted. How about Wall Street? They got their corporate tax cut. They got their deregulation. They're getting everything they want, even big agriculture. Brooke Rollins runs the Department of Agriculture. She has a close relationship with the president. She speaks on behalf of big agriculture, which is a huge industry. They got the Trump administration to stop deporting illegal immigrant farmers. They got Trump not to take soda off of food stamps. In a nutshell, this is the same story. This is deja vu all over again. And by the way, this is what I said last year.
Yo, I couldn't even interrupt. I could not even interrupt. I couldn't even interrupt. I'm over here feeling like I got to say something. I got to chime in. This is why they're scared of Nick Fuentes. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, and you just heard Nick Fuentes' message, everything that they tell you about him, he's anti-Semitic, he's a racist, he's a misogynist. They'll say all those things, and they may even show you some sick jokes that he'll say that back those things up. But what they won't talk about and have a conversation with him, this is why Ben Shapiro won't debate him. This is why all these people that are so critical of how Tucker Carlson interviewed him, they don't have the courage to interview him themselves. Because when it comes to policies, what do we disagree about? What do Americans disagree about when it comes to what Nick Fuentes just said? We don't know whether it's Republican, conservative, liberal, progressive. I don't know. He's just talking about common sense things. He's calling out the elites. He's calling out Israel's influence. He's calling out Silicon Valley. He's calling out Donald Trump for not delivering on the things that he promised to deliver. He's calling out the agriculture companies. He's calling out even from a Maha standpoint, right? With RFK. Why is soda? Why are you able to buy soda with food stamps? It's unhealthy. Who else is saying these things? Who else is saying these things? We're going to get about another minute of this, and then we got to get out of here. So, oh my God. Matter of fact, we're going to wrap it up now. I hate to just cut it off right then and there, but go check out some of Nick's shows. And this is, once again, I have to keep saying this. This is why they're scared of people actually looking at Nick in long form. This is why Ben Shapiro, he'll put out a clip. He'll put out a clip from Nick's shows years ago. Show me some of the clips of Nick's recent shows where he's talking about policies. Show me some of these Hitler-like, Nazi-like policies that Nick Fuentes is talking about. Show me some of these misogynist policies that Nick Fuentes is talking about. Oh, Unc just reminded me. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up today. Appreciate y'all as always. We actually have the best part of the show. The best part of the show. I'm gonna try to get us out of here by 9:43. By 9:43, got the sound bowls in the back playing. Let me share this tab. So this is what we'll get into. So we're gonna do our breath work, our box breathing. So it's 4-second inhale in which we're feeling all the positive energy. Then it's going to be a 4-second hold, then a 4-second exhale, in which we're releasing all the negative limiting energy. And then we're going to have a 4-second hold, and we're going to go through that 4 times. But before, I just got to acknowledge Robert. Robert, you're a legend, brother. You're a legend, brother. Thank you. And Phyllis said, thanks for posting Nick. No, I thank Nick, man. I thank Nick for allowing me to post and for Nick for saying these things. And the reason why I think it's important for a lot of us to watch people like Nick, to watch people that they tell you are the most evil people in the world, they're Hitler, they're Nazis, actually watch them and come up with your own conclusion. You're not going to agree with everything. You're not going to like everything. It's going to be some things when I'm watching Nick's shows. Sometimes I'm offended by certain things. Just like other people that I watch, and it's the same thing. But one thing that I am not offended by when I'm watching him is his ability to be genuine and to say what's actually real to him. This is what drew me to a guy like Donald Trump. But now when he's in office is exactly what Nick Fuentes said. I said 9:43, my apologies. Let me I just think that it's important. Hit the like button. Please make sure that y'all do hit the like button. We want as many people as engaged in this part of the show as well with the meditation and manifesting. But I just have to sum up those things because it's important. It's important for us to support certain people. When we talk about a third party not being possible, perhaps whether or not the third party is possible, perhaps then we can support some of the people that are bringing a more moderate stance, a more common sense approach to politics. So the elites don't have it too easy where they can just count on, oh, they'll be radical over here for a little bit, then they'll be radical over here. No, let's make it difficult. Let's establish some type of checks and balance system so people on the right can't just do whatever they want, being controlled by whoever they're controlled with, and people on the left can't do the same. All right, box breathing. If you're in a safe place, close your eyes and let's get into it. 4-second inhale, ready, begin. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. All right, we're getting ready for our last inhale. Make sure that you feel that positive energy on the inhale. Ready? Go. Hold. Last big energy. Go. Hold. Turn this down a little bit so y'all can hear me. We'll leave it on. We'll leave it on. Hold on. Oh, my bad. Here we go. All right, man. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know we come here to do. Elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint. Hold on. I got a message. All right. Maya's giving me the updates. Both from an intentional standpoint, raising our standards to become the best leaders we can become that are needed now more than ever, as well as raising our standards to grow into the people that we need to grow into in order to have the confidence, the tools, the skills, the perseverance, all the things that are necessary, the sacrifice in order to accomplish these audacious goals, like achieving the greater peace, achieving peace for humanity, right? All of these things, monumental goals, but we're built for them. And how do we go about doing it? By being the change that we want to see in the rest of the world. Onward and upward, strength and honor. Y'all know what it is when I say get to that bag. For those that don't, it's not just about money. It may not be about money at all. It's all the things that we're aligned with, that we're focusing on to make sure that we're on the proper trajectory, moving efficiently as possible, living in our purpose, and strive for purpose and abundance, which is going to ultimately determine our impact that we make on the world that we like to call our personal legend. So the things that are in my bag that I like to focus on that serve as my compass, my guardrails: peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and in everything we do, integrity, and of course, balance. Balance. All right. So on that note, I'm gonna let y'all run. Said, please hit the like and subscribe. Now, remember that the show will be live again tomorrow. Yes, thanks for reminding us. I definitely didn't. Tomorrow at 8. So for those that are new to the show, every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. On point, and that we subscribe. So subscribe to all. Just hear what we gotta say. It's an open forum. You ain't gotta come. All right, you ain't gotta come, but we definitely appreciate y'all tapping in and giving us all the insight that y'all give, the perspective, because it allows us to have a more well-rounded conversation. So on that note, I'll see y'all tomorrow. All right, strength and honor, Finn. Strength and honor. Let's get to it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right now. Have a good one.